We have breaking news as Shams has just dropped a huge report surrounding the Lakers, revealing that a signing is imminent. We're going to break down his report and discuss what it means going forward, as well as discuss multiple updates surrounding who the Lakers are currently zeroed in on and are targeting. So stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, if you're a part of that 90% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. If you want to help us towards a goal of 15,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that button if you're enjoying the daily Lakers coverage over here. But ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot to go over today. Obviously, we've been talking about a bunch of different targets, whether it be guys like Daniel Tice, JaVale McGee. We have multiple updates on that front. But Shams just dropped minutes ago a huge report, and it is a bit of a encouraging sign. So you can see this here. I expect the Lakers to make a move for a center in the next 24 to 48 hours. They have already been in contact with multiple centers. So we also have some comments from Rob Pelinka, not Robert Williams, of course, Rob Pelinka, to go over today. But it's a very interesting thing, and he just dropped this. He was on ESPN. I'm told the Lakers are pursuing multiple big men, and a big in the next 24 to 48 hours. So it seems like by the end of this week, the Lakers will have their big men, chosen and decided. And there's a bunch of different reports that are going around, but of course, Shams is the most reputable insider in the game. So for him to say this, a signing is absolutely imminent. And we knew that some sort of move was going to go down. There were some talks about it happening after the All-Star break. However, it does make sense for them to get whatever big men they're going after acclimated to the team, can get used to everybody during the All-Star break, and really figure out what's next for this team as it pertains to figure out rotations as well for JJ Redick, because we've been seeing now in the past handful of games and really the whole season, it's not the whole season. Well, Jackson Hayes has obviously been a pretty impactful player for the Lakers as the backup center, but since the Anthony Davis trade, now Jackson Hayes has had to slide into that number one center role. There's no question that the Lakers need another center. Whether he's going to slide into the starting center spot, whoever they do pick up, is still in question here. But you can see this here from Pelinka, and this dropped yesterday. It went under the radar by some fans out there. He said, hopefully we'll have good news to come in the next few days. That was on Pelinka getting a big on the Lakers pregame show. So you pair that with the fact that Shams literally just dropped, they're going to be getting one in the next 24 to 48 hours. It is almost certain now that they're going to be acquiring a center. So now that we have that kind of established here from Shams and Rob Pelinka, the question now shifts to who is that center. Now, a couple things to go over. One, of course, you know that Alex Len, who was initially going to sign with the Pacers when the Robert Williams trade was supposedly supposed to happen, and when it was, trade was pending. And then after the trade getting nixed by the Lakers, now Mark Williams, now that trade is, backed out, Alex Len is also backed out of the Pacers deal in hopes of getting a bigger role elsewhere. And of course, immediately all eyes went on the Lakers and Alex Len, simply because there is seemingly a starting spot available, though I do think with the way that Jackson Hayes has been playing, the way that him and Luka have kind of started to bond a little bit and really figuring out the pick and roll. We saw it as early as, the first play of the game against the Jazz yesterday night. So it's going to be interesting to see regarding Alex Len. Again, he's not signing with the Pacers. He's the best center available in the buyout market, and there's mutual interest between him and the Lakers. And there's been some reports and some rumors speculating that the Lakers' pursuit of Mark Williams was unintended. And obviously, the pursuit of him was intended, but the unintended consequence of the trade being nixed. Despite this setback, the Lakers' ability in the buyout market remains with a degree of flexibility in addressing their roster needs. They have $1.6 million in salary cap space below the second apron. They possess the ability to make limited roster additions. Furthermore, the team recognizes the need for an answer at the position. And we can also go back to the Rob Pelinka quote a few days ago. We will find another center path. The path is always there. We just got to put in the work to find it. And again, the report is that the Lakers are zeroing in on Alex Len. Now, when it comes to Alex Len, let me know down below what your thoughts are. I know I made a video on it last night, and it seemed like I said a signing was imminent, and it clearly is at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see surrounding Alex Len. Keeping that in mind, as you look at Alex Len's stats, he's been a very interesting player. So thus far for the Kings, this season, he's played 36 games, averaging 1.4 points a game. He's obviously been a very disappointing, player for them this season. Coming off a year, he's played 4 years now in Sacramento. He's had some better years. His most notable year was his age 28 season back in 2021 when he put up 6 points a game. Alex Len is probably not going to start for the Los Angeles Lakers, but if they do bring him in, there is clearly a bigger role than in Indiana, simply because of the lack of depth that the Lakers have at center. Jackson Hayes, Trey Jemison, Christian Koloko, those are the three guys, and a couple of those guys are borderline. They are G League players, from Trey Jemison and Christian Koloko. So Alex Len clearly has his space on this team if they get him, and he would basically be, he's not going to be a great defender. He's not going to be a great scorer. He's going to be a capable rebounder, someone who you can put in against the opposing team's bigger lineups, whether that be, Jokic, all these different things. Is he going to be able to guard Jokic? No one really can. But having a big body off of the bench that's an alternative to Trey Jemison right now, and especially an alternative to Jackson Hayes, whether he gets in foul trouble or whether they just want to employ a bigger lineup. We saw the Lakers yesterday go small, and they were getting abused a little bit by Walker Kessler and even Lauri Markkanen to a degree. So having a big man on the roster is intriguing. Obviously, out of the buyout targets that are remaining, Alex Len is probably the most NBA ready. He's actually played this season a lot of games and has played a ton of games in comparison and relative to, in comparison to a lot of the other guys who are on the buyout market, whether that be Daniel Tice, JaVale McGee, and players like that. So Alex Len's an interesting fit. Now, do I think he would be, a savior for this team, the center that they're looking for? No. At this point, whoever they get in the buyout market or free agency overseas, whatever they decide to go with, is going to be a player who is probably just for this year. And maybe if he plays well, he can find a bench role next year. But they're going to be making a big trade in the offseason for a center, whether that be a guy like Nick Claxton. We've heard a lot of different rumblings. Walker Kessler, whoever they go after in the offseason, that's going to be their big splash. Right now, it's almost a Band-Aid, right? And they're going to make a move the next 24 to 48 hours. It's probably going to be in the form of someone who is going to be and play a bench role, specifically guarding the opposing team's big men, like the actual bigger players. And it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, some other targets have been JaVale McGee. You can see his stats here. He last played in 2023, then he moved overseas. Like, JaVale McGee's another guy. He was on the Lakers' radar a bunch, obviously played with LeBron James and briefly played with Luka as well. So, I mean, there's some interesting things there. A lot of these players at this point, I know a lot of you guys down below, I mean, let me know who you prefer between JaVale McGee and a guy like, of course, Alex Len. Alex Len, his stats are really bad. He hasn't played good. He's been very slow. He's not going to be very agile defensively, not, very movable. He's fairly immobile for a center, right? But what that means is at least you'll have a big body out there, a fairly big guy, especially compared to Jackson Hayes, who has a more slim build, but is athletic and catch lobs, things like that. But regarding Daniel Tice, a player we've covered on the channel a little bit here, he actually this afternoon left the NBA for Europe and is committed to join AS Monaco despite receiving bigger EuroLeague offers and NBA opportunities per sources. You'd have to assume that the Lakers were one of those teams that gave him a chance, because we know now, according to Pelinka and Shams, that they're actively making offers, they're actively making moves, they've been in contact with multiple centers. You have to assume Daniel Tice was one of them. He ultimately decided to take his talents in overseas and go play in Europe. However, now that takes one more option off the board, and it's why all signs are kind of pointing towards Alex Len at this time. We've covered a couple European centers. Eddie Tavares, he is another guy that's extremely interesting, and there's just a lot of different players that they can go after. But it seems like we'll have a decision before the All-Star break, but the end of this week. Of course, they play tomorrow against the Utah Jazz again, in which they'll probably still have the normal center depth of Jackson Hayes, Christian Koloko, and I guess Trey Jemison and Christian Koloko, depending if Christian Koloko gets in. But let's not forget, they're going to have to make subsequent moves. They do not have roster spots open right now. So we're also going to find out not only who they sign, but who they're going to have to waive, whether that be waiving a guy like Shake Milton, Cam Reddish, Christian Wood is a guy who is highly likely to be waived. And there's some other guys as well that, depending on what they decide with them, you also have to convert Jordan Goodwin's contract at some point. We'll have a video coming out on that later tonight. So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts. It's going to be a very busy next 24 to 48 hours. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. And also let me know down below which of these players out of the ones we discussed today would you think, who do you prefer from the Lakers side. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.